Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. Welcome to episode 100 of the Old Mage MTG podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex, did you plan anything big for episode 100?
I forgot it was episode 100.
You forgot it was episode 100?
Yeah.
I didn't forget it was episode 100.
Uh-oh.
I have a confetti cannon.
Yes.
It's a big day.
Yes.
It's a big day
Look
for the
at that.
podcast, Alex. Not every podcast makes it to episode 100, but we did. They said we couldn't do it. We proved them wrong. Who's they, Alex?
Giant ants? No, that's them.
Oh, yeah, that is a movie. Yeah. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Was it any good?
No.
For a shitty B movie? Was it good for a shitty B movie?
I can't remember.
I've never watched it.
I think it gave my little sister nightmares.
I just can't get intimidated by ants, even if they're gigantic. Intimidated. I would be intimidated by a gigantic ant. I just, the idea of an ant, like I can't get scared. It's not good for a horror movie. Like ants are just cool. They're just too cool to be really like truly frightening, even if they're gigantic and they're eating people in their pincers and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways.
No need to demonize the ants. They're fine.
Anyways. How have you been doing, Alex? I think you told me you went to, did you go to a football game?
No.
Oh, you didn't go to the Browns game?
No. I just went up to Cleveland to watch the Browns game on TV.
Okay, so that wasn't as bad then.
Yeah.
It's more depressing, I think, if they perform like that and you're actually like at the stadium in your face paint, wearing your dog mask.
You don't want to stay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But no, we had fun. My brother-in-law had the TV set up outside. Smoked some meat.
Smoking meats.
Yep.
And that's Sweet Baby Ray's, Alex?
No.
You don't get that Sweet Baby Ray's when you smoke meats with your boys in the backyard? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. I don't know.
Okay. We might have had this
barbecue sauce called that, but I assume you're referencing something.
We might have had the same exact conversation on a previous episode. It's a famous Mark Zuckerberg clip where he's like, smoking some meats. Gotta have that Sweet Baby Ray's.
No. Okay.
Anyways. Okay. The Browns still suck. That's what we learned so far this year.
Oh, yeah.
Do they don't have tickets anymore, do they?
No, they got rid of their season tickets.
Okay. Well, we're not here to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Nobody wants to talk about the goddamn Cleveland Browns. They're terrible. We're here to talk about Magic the Gathering. A lot has happened in the world of Magic the Gathering since we last spoke, Alex. There was hold on a second. Before we get started, I got to set my timer. Because the things I have a list of things we're not going to talk about. And I want to go through them. But since we're not talking about them, I don't want to spend more than 10 minutes. So I'm setting my timer for 10 minutes. Not 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, here we go. There was a highly anticipated banned restricted list announcement, Alex.
Ah, yeah.
So this happened a couple weeks ago now. Wizards banned Urza's Saga and Vexing Bauble in Vintage. They banned Grief in Legacy and Modern. That was a very big deal for people on those formats. And most importantly, they banned Nadu Winged Wisdom in Modern. So I looked at this, I read through this ban restricted announcement. There was a lot of activity on Twitter when this was first announced. And a lot of people were talking about an article that was written by lead designer of Modern Horizons 3, which is the set that Nadu was printed in. Lead designer Michael Majors. He wrote an article titled On Banning Nadu Winged Wisdom in Modern, which began with this sentence: Nadu Winged Wisdom was a design mistake. It comes right out the beginning. Mea culpa. Sorry, we screwed up. I don't really know what mea culpa means. I think I used it correctly. Alex, did I use it correctly? This is a mea culpa. An apology?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll go with it.
I think that's right. I think
Google it.
Sorry. What?
Google it.
I feel like people use it sarcastically a lot, though. So it's like, that's why I'm confused.
This is a
An
genuine.
acknowledgement of one's fault or error. Yeah.
I nailed it. I nailed it.
Yeah.
He then went on to explain in this article about how decks built around Nadu had an extremely high win rate on the Pro Tour. They dominated the Pro Tour with a 59% win rate, he mentions. Then he goes on to say, since it threatens to monopolize people's time, all while not being a fun or easy deck to interact with, there isn't a compelling argument to preserve the deck. For these reasons, Nadu is banned. So people were wondering how this happened. You know, right when this card hit the scene, people were going crazy for it. People were building around it. It was dominating tournaments. How did they release such a obviously powerful, disruptive card? Reading through this announcement, he talks a little bit about how the card was developed. And I learned that the Nadu, as it was originally designed, was very different from the Nadu that was printed in Modern Horizons 3. He shows the original text of Nadu. This is how it read when they were first playtesting the card. Nadu Winged Wisdom is 1 green, 1 blue legendary creature, bird wizard, 3/4 flying. You may cast permanent spells as though they had flash. Whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Compared to Nadu as printed, casting cost is the same. It's still a 3/4 flyer. But as printed, it says creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. So when I read those two texts, there's two key differences. This original Nadu gave flash to all your permanents. The Nadu as printed did not have the ability to grant flash to your other permanents. They removed the flash. Second big difference is original Nadu allowed you to draw cards only when your opponent targeted it. So it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls. Whereas the Nadu as printed allowed you to draw cards whenever the creature became the target of a spell or ability. So you could target your own Nadu and draw cards. They decided to make these changes very late into the playtesting phase. So if you go through this article, he says, after playtesting, there were a series of last-minute checks of the set by various groups. In one of these meetings, there was a great deal of concern raised by Nadu's flash granting ability for commander play. So flash was brought up as particularly problematic, and it was problematic for commander. After removing the ability, it wasn't clear that the card would have an audience or a home, something that's important for every card we make. Ultimately, my attention was to create a build-around aimed at commander play, which resulted in the final text. So they wanted to get rid of flash because they thought it would be a problem in commander, but he wanted to still ensure that the card was interesting. So they removed flash. They replaced it with a more powerful card draw ability, a card draw ability that's easier to exploit. So people in commander would still potentially be excited about the card. He then says, I missed the interaction with 0 mana abilities that are so problematic. We didn't play test with Nadu's final iteration. So just to summarize all this, like they had a card as originally designed. People decided that it was going to be a problem for commander. So they took this card that was being printed in Modern Horizons 3 and kind of designed it for commander, not thinking so much about how people may be able to exploit it with the modern card pool, even though it was printed in Modern Horizons. So they're getting some criticism for that, but I mean, I totally understand why when they design cards for Modern Horizons, they still have commander play in mind. They can't not have commander play in mind these days. It's the dominant format of Magic.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, you know, it blew my mind originally to see that they didn't play test Nadu's final iteration. But thinking about that more, also, I shouldn't be surprised. And this might sound crazy, but we can't really fully expect them to, play test everything that they print uh, enough
At least not fully, yeah.
fully, yeah, to potentially discover all the exploits that the people might uncover, because Magic just moves too fast. Like, I'm sure these people would love, the designers I'm sure would love to have more opportunity to fully play test the cards,
I mean,
but
there's so many more brains trying to break the cards,
yes.
than the people who are playtesting them. They're, kind of doomed to fail.
So those are two issues. Like, one, you're being pushed by Papa Hasbro to move fast. You simply don't have the time.
You say Papa Hasbro?
Papa Hasbro. Two, yeah, just the brain power devoted to playtesting is never going to match the brain power of the collective of Magic the Gathering players that immediately try to break cards as soon as they start opening the packs.
Yeah.
So they're just forced to move too fast. Shit's going to happen. Ban it and move on. That's what they've done. They've banned it and moved on. Get over it, people. Although I will say, and this is coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't really play Commander, so I don't fully understand how problematic, I guess, Flash can be in Commander. We've seen some decks since you and I have got back into Magic where Flash is a big deal. And we know Flash is banned. The spell from Mirage banned in a lot of formats because of the things you can flash in. But I guess because I haven't played with a lot of those cards, I don't play a lot of Commander, it's kind of hard for me to understand how they could be more problematic than an obviously powerful card draw engine, which is always ripe for exploitation in pretty much every format of Magic the Gathering. So they could have just removed I feel like they could have just removed the Flash and not beefed up Nadu's card drawing ability. I don't know why that would have made it so uninteresting to Commander players that nobody would have played it. I think people still probably would have played it.
I mean, you have to know the other relevant cards, though. I mean, if it was underpowered, then, like they say, there might just be creatures that are more interesting that are similar that you could be playing instead.
This is true. Again, this is coming from this perspective of somebody that doesn't play a lot of Commander. I also don't, when I build Commander decks, I don't think about building like competitive Commander decks. So I'm not necessarily only looking to play the most powerful cards. I, like to mix it up a little bit. Commander for me, since we've started building decks, is an opportunity to play the cards that don't usually get played in other formats.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not that for everybody. I understand it. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's 10 minutes. We're failing miserably.
I've been waiting to say I'm concerned about the 10 minutes.
Okay, hold on a second. I meant to say 20 minutes. I'm setting the timer for another 10 minutes.
Oh.
We're on to the next topic, Alex, that we're not going to talk about.
20 minutes is a long time to not talk about.
That's all I have to say about Nadu. It's not actually something we're talking about today. We're moving on to the next. Oh, before I actually move on to the next, one more thing, Alex. The One Ring lives to fight another day. Keep holding.
Oh, yeah.
They did not ban the One Ring yet. Keep holding your One Ring. Hodl.
All right.
But again, we're not talking about that today. The next thing we're not going to talk about is a new secret layer dropped, Alex. This one is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. I just wanted to bring this up because you love D&D. I used to play D&D with you back in the day. There's a ton of crossover between D&D and Magic the Gathering. I think this secret layer will probably do well. It includes 5 different drops. Dungeons and Dragons, an exhibition of adventure. Death is in the Eyes of the Beholder 1 and 2. Asterion's Thirst and Karlach's Rage. We're not actually going to talk about this super drop today. All I really wanted to say is, how about this Faithless Looting art, Alex? That's some classic D&D art. I like this one.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in the D&D super drop, have a look at the Secret Lair website. Some of it's sold out already. This is the bundle. The bundle's sold out. What isn't sold out? I'm telling the people what isn't sold out as of September 11th, 2024. Exhibition of Adventure. The 2 Death is in the Eyes of the Beholder are still available. 1 is in low stock. That's it. Asterion's Thirst sold out. Karlach's Rage sold out. Get your secret layers quick. That's all I have to say about that. We're not really going to talk about that today. The next thing we're not going to talk about, Alex, this is the final thing we're not going to talk
You're
about.
doing
A
better
new
with the
pay.
pacing now.
I know. I got excited about Nadu. I kept going. There's a new Patreon that was released. This is not my Patreon. You might ask me why I'm talking about the Patreon that isn't my Patreon, because it's a Patreon that looks really cool to me. And the content's being made by a lot of people in Premodern who I really enjoy following. They make great gameplay videos on YouTube. Some of them have a podcast. Some of them write articles. They have a Patreon called The Well of Knowledge. It's focused on the Premodern format. They're publishing articles, strategy, and reports on events. They have a paid tier, but they also have a free tier, and this free tier contains links to the podcast, maybe some, I don't know if it's all the episodes of I've Got Questions, or maybe they just release some special episodes here of I've Got Questions, a Premodern podcast on this Patreon. But in addition to that, they have all sorts of primers they're going to be publishing. So far, we have a Premodern metagame analysis and case for Enchantress at LobsterCon by 10 Arms, Chris Toll, or a Premodern Enchantress. Specialist, that's the word. A primer on Hermitfeb by some of the Hermitfeb crew. I screwed that up. The Feb Cabal. They're not a crew, they're a cabal. This one's written by Carl Winter. F. Palouse, aka F. Palouse MTG on YouTube, wrote the ultimate guide to blue-white Stifle Knot in Premodern. And they're going to release some more stuff. I think at some point there might be some paywalled content if you wanted to pay $5 to upgrade to a paid member of the Patreon. But you can see they're already putting out lots of great content for free. So if you're interested in Premodern, if you want to see some primers on, how to pilot some of these decks that are big in Premodern, check out the Well of Knowledge. But that's it, because we're not really going to talk about that today, Alex. So look, we only went 15 minutes on the stuff we're not going to talk about.
Not bad, not bad.
Now we're going to get to the stuff that we are actually going to talk about today. Today we have some deck talk for you. I want to talk about Forbidian. Forbidian is a classic deck that was played by John Finkel and potentially others back in the late 90s. I think Finkel might have been the originator of the deck. He's at least the person that's most strongly associated with the Forbidian deck. This is a Weatherlight era deck. And then after we go through Forbidian, I want to talk about our recent foray into the world of modern magic. We had two old mages get together a couple of weekends ago and play modern magic for the very first time. We did that with some precons. I want to talk about that in the second segment of the episode. But before we get to what we're really going to talk about today, I have a follow-up to last episode. Last episode, Alex, I was showing the people and you some of the bulk that I bought for a penny a piece at a local LGS. It was a lot of red bulk, a lot of land destruction cards in that bulk. One of those cards was a card called Flowstone Flood. For those who don't know, Flowstone Flood is a repeatable land destruction spell from Exodus. It's 3 colorless, 1 red sorcery, destroy target land. So that's a stone rain for 4, but this one has a buyback. The buyback is pay 3 life, discard a card at random. That is a very steep buyback. When I was talking to you about this card, I said, I remember the Resleevables. So this is the podcast, The Resleevables, with hosts Patrick Sullivan and Cedric Phillips. These are 2 MTG commentators, former MTG pros. Big names in the world of Magic the Gathering. There was a episode of The Resleevables on Exodus, and I remembered them saying something about Flowstone Flood. I couldn't remember what he said about Flowstone Flood, Patrick Sullivan in particular. So I went back and I watched this episode again. Patrick Sullivan had this to say about Flowstone Flood. Someone knew something was up. There's no way no one knew that they were doing something they weren't supposed to do. He has very strong opinions about Flowstone Flood. People were not supposed to do this. They did it anyways. He called it one of the worst designs of all time. That's what I couldn't remember. I just remember him having very strong opinions about Flowstone Flood. And he explained himself a little bit in this episode. And I think his issue with Flowstone Flood is essentially that if this is cast successfully, it's just game over for certain types of decks, particularly some mid-range decks that rely on like one or two high casting cost spells to really do their thing. And I didn't quite see this when I first saw this card. I'm just focused on the steep cost of the buyback. But it is the case that, this goes back to me repeatedly underestimating repeatable land destruction. I did the same. I think I made the same mistake when I first saw Dwarven Miner. It is the case that if you have a repeatable land destruction spell, it's just so brutal against certain types of decks that need to build up a certain amount of mana that even if the ability to repeatedly use that land destruction, is very costly for you, it doesn't matter because it's so crippling for the opponent. Like if somebody...
once you get slightly ahead in board state, then,
yes.
you just shut them down.
And like, it's 3 life and discard a card, but you might only need to do this twice to just totally fizzle their game plan. So 6 life to essentially shut down your opponent. That's worth it. 6 life to win the game. It's worth it. So yeah, I wasn't thinking about how brutal this could be against just the certain types of decks, and I think that's essentially why he calls it one of the worst designs of all time, because it's game over for too many different types of decks.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe they were thinking that adding the discard a card to the buyback was significant enough, but the problem is that, the Flowstone Flood is coming back to replace the card you lost, and now you just have a guaranteed draw of a land destruction deck, or a land destruction card. Like, if it was just, you were drawing a random card, it wouldn't be, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have a guaranteed land destruction draw, and when it comes to the pace of the game, that can just be, as long as you got a little bit ahead, that's just like crippling to your opponent.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're not just trading a random card for some other random card that you then top deck. You're trading a random card for something that you know is going to cripple your opponent. That's when you pay the buyback. But just wanted to bring that up. Flowstone Flood, more powerful than I realized probably. And again, I repeatedly underestimate repeatable land destruction.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I should put this in my raise deck.
Give it a try. Let's play with it.
Might try it.
We'll see how it shuts down the rock or some other generic mid-range deck. I'll put together some Dead Guy Ale. I'll put together a rock. You Flowstone Flood the fuck out of me. We'll see how it goes. Probably not well for the mid-range deck. But that's Flowstone Flood. Now it's time for segment 1, Alex. Segment 1 is titled Forbidian because it's all about Forbidian. Forbidian is a deck made famous by Magic the Gathering great and Hall of Famer John Finkel. I think now he runs a hedge fund. I don't know if I'm making that up or not. You should send him a message, Alex. Tell me you're a Magic the Gathering nut. You're a major influencer. Also, now we have a Magic the Gathering podcast that maybe he would want to check out. Of course, he wouldn't learn anything from it, but who cares? Just throw that out there anyways. Tell him you're also a budding equity analyst and you're wondering if he's looking for any junior analysts at his hedge fund. I don't know what kind of fund they run. They might be a quant fund or something. In that case, I don't think you have anything to offer them, but who knows? Just throw that out there. First, one is find out if John Finkel actually works for a hedge fund. I don't think I'm making it up. 2, send him an email. The worst he can say is no. Forbidian is all about generating card advantage and using that card advantage to soft lock your opponent with repeatable counter magic. So the namesake cards are the creature Ophidian. I'm going to pull Ophidian up real quick. We talked about this recently as we've been going through Weatherlight. This was one of the 10 Weatherlight cards that changed the world, according to Mike Flores. Ophidian is 2 colorless, 1 blue, summon Snake. 1/3. Pay 0. Draw a card. Ophidian deals no combat damage this turn. Use this ability only if Ophidian is attacking and unblocked, and only once each turn. As a card that was first printed in Weatherlight. I think it has some other printings too. Not really. I just burped into the mic. It's just small printings. A World
Sorry.
Championship deck, 2 dual decks, and a Friday Night Magic promo. The FM Magic promo looks pretty cool. Normally, I don't like foils. I wonder what this looks like in person all foiled up.
Yeah, you're right. It looks cool, like shimmery water.
Yeah. Yeah. If I wasn't a never foiler, maybe I'd buy one, but I am a never foiler.
Yeah.
So Ophidian is, I mean, you see what it is. It's card advantage on a stick. If it gets through, and that's a big if, unless you build around it. So card advantage if it gets through. You got to build around it. Luckily, there are lots of spells in blue in particular that can help it get through. So when I was thinking about what to run with this, I was going through a list of bounce spells in blue, theft spells in blue, spells you can use to steal their blockers to then attack with Ophidian and get through. I was going through old articles. I was going through old card lists. I found another deck. And I just wanted to talk about this deck. It's only tangentially related, but I wanted to talk about it because it's really cool. I came across another deck that, has some cards in it that you might want to run with Ophidian. Some cards that I forgot about that could help Ophidian get through. This deck is called Serrated Illusionist. It was played by Brian Kibler back in 1997. This was the Mirage Visions Weatherlight era. He had Ophidian in his deck. And there are 20 creatures in this deck. Okay. So 4 Ophidians, 4 Mana War, which is a blue spell that I had in mind to run with Ophidian that can help Ophidian get through. Because when Mana War hits the battlefield, you return a target creature to owner's hand. So you cast Ophidian, the next turn you cast Mana War to bounce their blocker back to their hand. You attack with Ophidian, you get through, you draw the card. It have 4 Water Spout Djinns, which I think is just some beatdown in this deck. That's just a 4/4 flyer for 4. Summon the Djinn. During your upkeep, return an untapped island you control to owner's hand or bury Water Spout Djinn. We've seen this in some other blue decks from that era because it's just a decent body in blue with some evasion in the form of flying. It does have a downside, but in constructed play in certain environments, this is a pretty good body for that downside. And then it had 2 other cards that can be used to help your Ophidian get through that I totally forgot about from Weatherlight. I wanted to talk about them because I think they're pretty cool. Serrated Biskellion. Didn't remember this one at all.
I remember this. I definitely have one or more of these, and I'm glad to see it getting use here. It makes me happy that like a card that, was in my just like stack of stuff that I wasn't going to do anything with is like actually used in a deck. I'm very happy.
It made an impact in the late 90s. 3 colorless, 2/2 artifact creature. You can tap it to put a -1/-1 counter on Serrated Biskellion and a -1/-1 counter on target creature. So just on its face, it can be used to clear out a couple 1/1s or to clear out a 2/2 over the course of 2 turns, or maybe 1 turn if you have a way to untap your Serrated Biskellion.
Yeah, or make something killable by your Water Spout Djinn,
Or make something killable by your Water Spout Djinn. Yes. So 4 Serrated Biskellions, and then creatures in the 17 through 20 spot. There are 20 creatures here. 17 through 20, we have 4 Vodalian Illusionists. Do you remember this card, Alex? I didn't remember.
I do not remember this card.
I didn't remember it.
What is this? Uncommon or a rare?
I don't know. Look that up on your end right now, because I don't remember the card, and Weatherlight they didn't switch to that.
It's an uncommon.
Okay, they didn't switch to that color coding of the symbol yet. So an uncommon from Weatherlight. 2 colors, 1 blue, 2/2 summon Merfolk. Pay 2 blue and tap it. Target creature phases out. So again, this can be used to phase out a blocker. Phase out a blocker, attack with your Ophidian, gets through, draw a card.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad for a 3 casting cost and a 2 mana ability. That's okay.
It's not bad
Like
at
that
all.
big lamprey kind of thing, getting him.
Yeah.
Or not getting him as he phases away.
Yeah, what's phasing out here? Is he phasing out? He's phasing out, it looks like.
Merfolk is phasing out to get away, yeah.
Oh, okay, this is his tail. This is his tail. Something's phasing out. I think he's phasing out.
Oh no, maybe you're right. Well, who do you think is phasing out?
Oh, man. Tell us in the comments, who the fuck is phasing out here? Gore these shifty fishtails. You can't even get close to one. Okay, that sounds to me like Tongarth is mad that the shifty fishtails, aka the merfolk, are always phasing out. You can't get close to one. So it's got to be the merfolk phasing out.
Well, no, because if
Oh, okay.
If the merfolk is the guy saying it, the shifty fishtail is the lamprey thing that's swimming around him.
I don't know who Tongarth is. Let me Google real quick.
Tauren?
Tauron, gore these shifty fishtails. So here's my guess. I'm going to say Tongarth is like the king of the lampreys.
Oh, I didn't even read that at the bottom. My bad.
And Tauron is like a lamprey soldier that he's ordering to gore the shifty fishtails, aka the merfolk.
I feel like this is a plea to his deity. He's like, God curse these shifty fishtails. Crom, kill them.
I'm even more confused now because according to MTG Wiki, Tongarth is a proud Minotaur warrior from Talroom. Oh, and he's the first mate aboard the skyship Weatherlight.
Okay, so maybe it is the merfolk then that he's talking about. Well, certainly the Vidalian illusionist, that's a merfolk that it phases out because it's an illusionist or causes things to phase out, right? So, yeah, it would make the most sense going back to our original thought that the merfolk here is phasing out.
It's got to be the merfolk.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay.
Sorry to take us down that path.
You can use the Baskellion. This is why the people listen to the podcast, Alex. They love stuff like this. By the people, I mean the 3 people who listen. The Baskellion and the Illusionist can be used on their own to help your Ophidian get through. But that's not the beauty of this deck. The beauty of this deck lies in the combo of the 2. And the combo is explained in this article that I found that was written by Brian Kibler, who piloted this deck. I think he also designed it. The article is an old article from July 4th, 2011, titled The Dragon Master's Lair, the best decks I've ever played. Side note, so this is an old Star City Games article. I saw on Twitter recently that I think Star City Games is shutting down a lot of their content. Like a lot of people who have written articles for Star City Games for like 20 years, maybe more. They made an announcement, that they're no longer writing for Star City Games. Star City Games is pivoting.
Really?
And that got me panicked. I'm like, are they going to take the content down from their website? I hope they don't, because then I have no podcast. I'm trying to go through these art articles to learn about, what happened back in this time after when we weren't playing competitively, or like post 99 when we weren't playing at all. I'm trying to piece together the history from the old articles published on a lot of these sites. And I hope Star City Games doesn't go down. I'm sure a lot of it will still be archived, but then it's harder to find. It's just like it's hard to find old Duelist articles, old articles on the dojo and stuff. It's hard to find this stuff now. Keep the content up, Star City Games, please. We'll see what happens. If I was tech savvy, I would just try to download all the content, like and just keep it on an external hard drive. I don't know how to do any of that. Alex, build a a
I mean,
web
you could just
scraper.
like copy and paste a bunch of this into Word documents,
That's no, but that's insane.
I
What I want is an automated I want a scraper,
that's
Alex.
insane.
I want you to write, Alex, learn how to code, write a script to scrape all the content, all the articles off of the Star City Games website. So we have a archive. You know what I'm saying? Our own personal archive.
Okay.
Back to the article. The Dragon Master's Lair, the best decks I've ever played, written by Brian Kibler. The first article he mentioned in this, no, the first deck he mentioned in this article is Serrated Illusionist. In this article, he explains the combo. Let me find, I got to find this one section. This one section, he says, while the combo is straightforward, find. While the combo is straightforward to anyone who looks at the two cards these days, here's the combo. Activate Serrated Biscallion targeted an opposing creature. Then phase it out with Illusionist, which results in a counter on their creature and none on yours. In those days, so let me read this again. While the combo is straightforward to anyone who looks at the two cards these days, M dash, I believe that's an M dash, not an N dash. Tell me, Alex. Let's pretend like parentheses. Activate Serrated Biscallion targeting an opposing creature, then phase it out with Illusionist, which results in a counter on their creature, not on yours. M dash or close parentheses. In those days, rules were much less codified and much more open to interpretation than they are these days. I remember the question coming up at one event, and a judge said the Biscallion had to put a counter on itself to put the counter on another creature. So I basically had to hope that the head judge at the Grand Prix rolled correctly for my deck to work. The ruling came out in my favor, and so did the rest of the tournament. So I wanted to read this little excerpt from the article because he describes the combo with these two. When you combo the Serrated Biscallion with the Vodalian Illusionist, you can use the Serrated Biscallion to remove far more than just 2/1/1s from the board. You can continually use this every turn to put a -1/-1 counter on an opponent's creature, because you put the counter on the targeted creature first, then you use the Illusionist to phase out the Biscallion. It's then not in play to have the -1/-1 counter go on itself, right?
See, that's so crazy to me because it seems obvious to me that the two counters would go on those creatures at the same time.
This is the second reason I wanted to bring it up. Because when he says the rules were much less codified and much more open to interpretation than they are today, and, you know, the judge at the event, the first judge you talked to at the event, didn't even understand it working this way. I wanted to bring this up because this was 1997, 1998. As justification for why we don't understand the rules, really. This is how people played Magic the Gathering, even at large competitive sanctioned events in the late 90s. Like, a lot of the rules about how cards interacted or how different abilities resolved, like, weren't all that clear. So we're still like trying to get into this modern Magic mode where everything is very rigidly dictated and stepwise.
Well, okay, I guess maybe I was thinking about this the wrong way too, because I'm looking at the ruling on the Biscallion. It says if Serrated Biscallion leaves the battlefield before its ability resolves, you'll still put a -1/-1 counter on the target creature.
Yes. So the key is the stack, I think.
So it's having that ability go out, and then you're taking the Biscallion out before the ability resolves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the head judge, I think it's mentioned in this article too.
Yeah, I saw that when you had it up.
Not the head judge, the one judge who got it wrong before they went to the head judge, was thinking very much along the same lines as you. Yes, a judge said the Biscallion had to put a counter on itself to put the counter on another creature. So he was thinking, you know, either they happen simultaneously or it has to go on itself and then the target creature. The fact is, you tap the Serrated Illusionist, activate its ability, put that ability on the stack, then use, this is, I believe, how it works, then activate the Serrated Illusionist to phase out the Biscallion. When the ability on the stack resolves, the -1/-1 counter goes on the creature you targeted, and the Biscallion is not present to receive the -1/-1 counter, I believe. Is that how you think it's working too?
Yes, yeah, that seems, at my first, impression of this, learning about this for the first time, I think that's, yeah.
But yeah, activated abilities go on the stack. Serrated Biscallion ability goes on the stack, phase it out. Cool little combo. So, they're much better, even than I realized. On their own, they both serve the purpose of helping the Ophidian get through. But then together, they serve as repeated removal. I like that. I like cards. That's the best kind of combination, right? Cards that when comboed have some, great effect that you want to be able to exploit, but also serve like a fairly usable, frequently desired purpose when you just have one on their own. Like if you just have the Serrated Illusionist on the battlefield, you're still going to get use out of this phasing ability. There's a lot of different things you can do with the ability to phase out any creature, yours or your opponent's creature.
Yeah, you just use it like a Maze of Vith, more or less,
Yeah. Same with the Biscallion, you can use it twice if you want to pick off birds or elves. When they're together, they synergize. They're even better.
What happens when you phase something, when it phases out and phases back in, it retains counters that are on it? Is that how that works? Because I was also wondering if you just use the Biscallion and then the next turn you phase it out, and then does it come back in as a 2/2? I feel like it retains the counters when it phases.
I think it does too. I think it retains, even if you have an enchantment on a creature that you phase, I believe it comes back in.
Yeah, it should.
Enchantment. I think it doesn't affect.
Yeah, they remember any counters that had on them. Yeah.
Are you reading that, or are you just
agreeing?
I'm
reading
it. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. There's also an ability similar to phasing that's come out since then that isn't on any cards that we've played with, that I think is a little bit different than phasing, I believe. Am I making that up? Is there some sort of blink ability or something too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to get it. Oh, flicker. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's treated as a new card that just entered the battlefield. I think there's some differences between how flicker and phasing work too. We're not going to talk about that because we haven't made it to flicker yet. Flickering is the name. Oh, there's an Urza's Destiny's card called Flicker. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm sure we'll see it in the not too distant future. For exiling something and returning it to the battlefield. Mechanic is sometimes also called Blinking After Blinking Spirit, which actually has a self-bounce effect and not a flicker, according to MTG Wiki.
Okay.
The flicker ability was inspired by phasing. Okay, this is what I thought. So that's something.
Yeah, they're trying to clean it up a little bit, I think, Yeah.
Anyways, that's the cool combo in Serrated Illusionist. I like that combo. The rest of the deck, blue instants and an enchantment, counter magic, and a few spells to steal your opponent's creatures. All things you would want to have in your blue deck that wants to get that Ophidian through. But now back to the main topic. So Ophidian, one of the two primary cards in the Forbidian deck. The second namesake card in the Forbidian deck is Forbid. This is counter magic with a buyback, which sounds amazing. It's an uncommon from Exodus. It's 1 colorless, 2 blue, counter target spell, buyback, choose and discard 2 cards. So, again, like Flowstone Flood, a steep cost. 2 cards is no joke, but you can make this work to your advantage different ways. So
Yeah.
one way is to just pair it with cards that you either want in your graveyard or can play from your graveyard. This is what Gatherer user S. Allison87 suggested. Back in April 23rd of 2011 at 4:25:53 p.m., S. Allison87 was probably just getting back from school, logging onto the internet to chat about some magic with some buddies. He logged on to Gatherer. He saw Forbid. He said, an excellent counter. I combo it with Wonder and Deep Analysis to curb the card advantage. So Wonder is one of those cards that when it's in your graveyard, it grants abilities to creatures that you have on the board.
Oh, okay.
Wonder grants flying to creatures you have in play. And then Deep Analysis, which is a blue spell that has flashback, so you can play it from the graveyard. Even without buyback, you have a hard counter for 3, which ain't too shabby. So that's one way to take advantage of Forbid. Pair it with, put it in a deck that has a lot of cards that you want in your graveyard or can play from a graveyard.
Yeah, this would be cool in a blue-black deck. It's also just good like later in the game when maybe you have like some land in your hand that you don't need, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You can also play this spell with cards that generate card advantage for you. You use those cards to generate card advantage, to draw a bunch of cards to continually fuel the buyback cost of Forbid. And that's the idea behind the Forbidian deck, the combination of Ophidian and Forbid. If you continue to hit your opponent with that Ophidian, continue to draw cards, you can continue to cast Forbid over and over. We're going to take a look at a particular Forbidian deck that I found. Forbidian. John Finkel played this deck at U.S. Nationals in 1998. He was tied, I think, for 3rd place with Stupid Green Deck. And he came in just behind Matt Lindy, playing White Weenie, which came in 1st. And Mike Long, playing Prosbloom, came in 2nd. Just to contextualize the sets that were legal at the time, U.S. Nationals 1998 was played. 5th edition, Mirage Visions Weatherlight, Tempest Stronghold Exodus. So it was 5th edition, Mirage block, Wrath block. Do they say Wrath block or do they say Wrath cycle? I feel like people say Wrath cycle. Are they referring to that 3 block of cards? Am I making that up?
No, I know that I agree that I hear that term like that, and I'm not sure if it refers to the block or something else.
Yeah. But anyways, Mirage block, Tempest Stronghold Exodus. So that's the card pool he's brewing in. The deck
Wrath
has
Cycle,
12.
also known as the Tempest block.
Okay. So not the Wrath block. Tempest block or Wrath cycle. Okay. Forbidian, piloted by John Finkel at U.S. Nationals 1998, had 12 creatures in it. 4 Ophidian, 4 Manowar, 1 Silver Wyvern. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Alex?
Wyvern.
Wyvern. What is Wyvern mean exactly? They're always dragons, but what is it about it?
It's like a smaller like Drake-like dragon, not
Okay,
as big and strong as a dragon. A lot of times I think in tales or myths they have like a venomous sting.
Okay.
Lighter built dragon with venom.
Mythical draconian beast or lesser dragon. Often has a pointed tail. Maybe that's where the sting is coming from. Whips with the sting. Whips with the tail. Often a pointed tail. According to the often a pointed tail. Oxford English Dictionary, the word is a development of the Middle English wyver, attested 14th century, from Anglo-French vivere, which originate from Latin, meaning viper, adder, or asp.
Okay.
Okay, there we go again with the sting. You
Yeah.
fucking nailed it.
I like nerd stuff.
Silver Wyvern. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah. Sounds
Wyvern.
good.
3 colorless, 2 blue, 4/3 summon Drake flying. So this is in the, what was it? Something spout Jin.
Water spout?
This is kind of in the water spout Jin slot, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
You
I
just
see what
put
you're saying.
in like a decent flying body, something to
Yeah.
deal a little more than 1 or 2 damage a turn, has some evasion in the form of flying. The Wyvern's cool because you can also use it to redirect targeted spells. So you can pay 1 blue and then target spell or ability, which targets only the Wyvern, targets another creature of your choice instead. Play this ability as an interrupt. So this is really good like anti-swords tech. And yes, it only has 3 toughness, but you can also use it to redirect lightning
Lightning bolt.
bolts.
Yeah.
If your opponent doesn't even have a creature on the battlefield to redirect the lightning bolt to, you can even redirect a lightning bolt to your own Tradewind Rider because it has 4 toughness. That's the next creature in the deck. It runs 3 Tradewind Riders, which is 3 colors, 1 blue, 1 4 flyer. You can tap the rider and then tap 2 creatures you control to return target permanent to owner's hand. So again, you got the Ophidian for the card draw, Mana War, a bounce spell. Tradewind Rider can also be used to bounce blockers out of the way or to bounce, whatever. Whatever, bro.
Save
And
one
then
of your permanents that's going to be destroyed.
one of your permanents to save it. You can bounce their land back, whatever you feel like bouncing. It's target permanent. And then the Wyvern, you just got a decent beater that can survive removal, targeted removal.
My
The
only
ways to
question is with the trade wind, what creatures, you don't have a whole lot of creatures to be tapping 2 creatures with it. Like, is it just the mana wars you're counting on?
Exactly. That's the one downside of running the trade win in here. Like you don't have a token generator. It's not a deck with a ton of creatures in it. So there are definitely going to be some times where you probably just don't have 2 creatures on the board to tap down along with the trade win rider.
Do they have to be untapped? I feel like they don't, maybe.
Well, you got to
Look it
tap.
up.
Well, you have to. What do you mean by that? Because you have to tap them.
The errata is tap 2 untapped creatures you control.
Okay.
Like, I was wondering if you could use the ability on creatures that were already tapped. But no,
Yeah,
you can't because they've
yeah.
changed the wording on it. Just
You
to make
can't.
sure.
Yeah. If you tap them by turning them 90 degrees and they're turned 90 degrees, you can turn them another 90 degrees and then activate the trade win rider. Does that help? Can I do that? No. It's been
No.
errated. Damn it. But yeah, I had that same thought too. Okay, the rider, not a lot of creatures in this deck, really. But you do have 12. You're probably going to have, it's not going to be that crazy to have like 3 creatures on the board. And that's all you need, the trade win and 2 others to activate its bounce ability. You don't have a lot of creatures, but your creatures might stick around because remember, you are playing a deck that has a lot of counter magic, so you can protect them. And the Wyvern can actually even protect itself. Actually, yes, it can protect itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, as long as they have a creature, it's basically a shroud. Like, they're just not going to target it with anything and let you use that ability.
Yes. The other thing about the rider is like, at least for this era, and especially in blue, it's a decent sized body for 4. Like it is a 1/4 flyer. So, even if you can't use its ability, it's still a decent blocker for 4 at a minimum. Not a terrible creature to have out, especially in blue when your flyers and your creature options are limited. So those are the 12 creatures. You have 19 instants. So you have 2 capsizes. There's 1 colorless instant with a buyback of 3, return target permanent to owner's hand. So more bounce, more ways to clear the path for Ophidian. You have 4 counter spells. You have 3 forbids. You have 4 impulses, 2 mana leaks, so even more counter magic. And then you have Whispers of the Muse. 1 blue, buyback for 5, draw a card. Nice little mana sink in this block, in this era. So the instants are basically consist of more bounce to clear the way for Ophidian, counter magic to counter threats, including any that got through the first time that you then bounce back, counter them after the fact. And then some additional card draw and Whispers of the Muse. Were you
Oh,
gonna
is
say
that a
something?
Legacy's Allure I see?
Yes. We're not ready for
Oh,
that yet, though.
stoked.
First, 4 artifacts. Sapphire Medallion. So this provides you with some tempo. Do things a turn ahead that you wouldn't be able to do usually
Yeah. Or be able
without the
to do
Sapphire
2
Medallion.
things in a turn when you could have only done 1.
What is the dream? You say that do 2 things in a turn when you could have only have done 1. This is actually, let me think. If you have a Sapphire Medallion turn 2, right? Which means turn 3, if you have 3 mana out, you can cast your Ophidian for 2 and still have 1 mana left over to mana leak
Yeah.
anything they might cast to either try to counter your Ophidian play or to destroy your Ophidian. So that means already turn 3, you got an important part of your game on the board and the ability to protect it.
Yeah, you in a blue deck especially, you have the ability to do something and have a counter ready like every turn.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of having like a mana leak in here if you get a Sapphire Medallion down.
And now your impulses are only 1 mana. You don't have to feel as bad about investing the mana to do that.
Yeah.
And what's its face? Forbid becomes a regular counterspell.
And then the enchantments, Alex. We only have 1 enchantment. It's 4 copies of Legacy's Allure. This
I
is a
love this.
card. This is a card that I have to buy because it's still pretty cheap. It's probably always going to remain cheap. It's never going to like shoot way up in price. But I'm pretty sure I can get it like super cheap right now. And I feel like it might get to the point where it's a few dollars. Let me pull it up on MTG Stocks.
It is a rare. Oh wait, in Tempest it's an uncommon. Huh.
Okay, so it's only 32 cents, and it's the only printing of this card. I feel like at some point it's going to be more than 32 cents. And there are definitely multiple decks I could at least use this in the sideboard for, or at least just play sometimes for fun, because I do like it. And I think the popularity of Premodern is starting to impact the prices. I think there's a lot of stuff's going up again. I feel like I've been noticing that. I'm not tracking this very closely.
Did you see Forsaken Wastes was spiking?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I just saw a blurb about why, and I forget what it was. It was something about
Oh, holy smokes.
synergy with a Duskmourn card, I think. Yeah, I know.
I got 4 of these. Do I trade them into Card Conduit?
Decree of Justice looks like it's spiking for some reason.
The one that got me a little bit was Opalescence, because I have 1 Opalescence and I've been thinking for a very long time about getting a playset of Opalescences and could have definitely got them for $10, and they're shooting up. And I don't know if they're shooting up for Duskmourn reasons or if it's just more people getting into Premodern and seeing this is a really cool card. It's a really good card.
It's yeah, it's because of Duskmourn.
Forsaken Wastes or Opalescence too?
Opalescence.
Oh, okay.
It contain as we know, the set contains several new ley lines as well as a reprint. Ley lines like Leyline of Transformation can be put onto the battlefield as a pre-game action when it's in your opening hand.
This is disappointing to me because I want 4 opalescences. I only have 1. Before we move on to Legacies of Lore, I'm going to eat a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Oh, I'm jealous. What the heck?
I did this just to make you jealous, Alex.
Oh, also, while you're eating, Call of the Herd. This might make you mad, or you might have 4 of them already.
I
All
got
right,
4.
yeah.
I got 4.
I have none, or maybe I do, but not more than 1 or 2, probably. Damn it.
When I read that Sam Black article, I don't know how many months ago now, where he was like just kind of spitballing about what might be the next big thing in pre-modern post-lane tax banning.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He threw out some ideas. One of them was like a blue-green Enchantress deck. He also highlighted Call of the Herd. And they were pretty cheap. And I was playing a lot of green. I'm still building around a lot of green. I like mid-range. It's not like a real good mid-range card. I was just like, I need to pick up 4 of these because I'm going to always have something that I want to do with them. So I might as well just get them now. I didn't expect them to start going up as much as they did, though. Like, what is Call of Herd about? Does it have something to do with Dustmorn too?
That I don't know.
Holy smokes!
Holy smokes!
there's a line on MTG stocks that just goes straight up.
Yeah.
It still says market price average 284, but something crazy might have happened like just this week. Hold on, folks. We'll come back to Legacy Lore in just one moment. Legacies of Lore. I just pulled up Call of the Herd on TCG Player.
That's what I'm doing, yeah.
And I'm looking for, I like to buy light play copies.
Dude, there's only 1 near mint copy up here. It's $19. There's only 1 copy.
Light play started at $11.38. Yeah, I mean, I swear I bought mine for like $1.50 or $2.
There's only 3 lightly played copies up for sale, or 4, 5.
I'm seeing 6, but only 3 below $20.
Oh yeah, I see a couple now. Yeah, but yeah, they're a couple.
And then other people are trying to rip you off for $30. There's got to be. I mean, there's Call of the Herds like laying around all over the place.
Yeah, it'll come back down, but annoying if you're trying to build up a playset.
Yes. Oh, also, this is a card that's also printed in Dominaria Remastered. I forgot that. These are still available for like a nickel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I figured that was going up too, and it was like a couple bucks, and this one was just more because it was the old printing.
So people are really targeting that Odyssey printing of Call of the Herd right now. Dominaria Remastered on TCG Player, condition, light play, 159 available, near mint, over 300 available. Light plays for a nickel.
Also, look at the Grand Prix promos one.
Is this just a shiny one?
Yeah, but it has different art, and it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
And it's not expensive for what,
Yeah. Yeah. That is actually pretty cool for just a couple bucks.
Yeah. So you have some options, I guess, if you really need some Call of the Herds.
Alex, is that my spec? Is this what I spec on Grand Prix promo Call of the Herd? I don't know if anybody collects Grand Prix promos. Or these like
you have to educate yourself on that market first.
I don't have enough time. Back to Legacies of Lore, Alex. Legacies of Lore is the enchantment in the deck we're definitely talking about right now. Forbidian, piloted by John Finkel in 1998 at US Nationals. He ran 4 Legacies of Lore. It's 2 blue. Enchantment. During your upkeep, you may put a treasure counter on Legacies of Lore. Sacrifice Legacies of Lore. Permanently gain control of target creature with power no greater than the number of treasure counters on Legacies of Lore. So this does you no good if you're trying to steal like a big creature. But we've talked before about this card. There are a lot of really good 1-power creatures, 2-power creatures in Magic the Gathering that you might want to steal.
Yeah, it's better for those. But I mean, it still works on a big creature. It just takes a longer time.
Yeah.
You have to get it down early and wait for it to build. But then you have like a ticking time bomb against your opponent when they bring out their big creature. So I still think it's viable like that.
That is also true. And remember, this is in a deck where you have an ass load, so to speak, of counter magic.
Yeah.
So if you need to keep this on the board for quite a few turns to build up to steal creatures of the size that your opponent is playing, you
Mhm.
can probably protect it with this deck, with all your counter spells, your Forbid, your Mana Leak, your
Mhm.
Ophidian to fuel the buyback on that Forbid. I also like this card. I mean, everybody knows this, but one of the upsides of this card is once you sack it to steal the creature,
Yeah.
then there's
Permanent.
nothing for them to disenchant, like a
Right.
control magic or other spells that usually have this type of effect. So Legacies of Lore very strong.
Yeah, when I found this, I was surprised by how, I don't know, it doesn't seem like anyone talks about it and it's cheap. It seems like a, you know, just a strong control magic type spell that is harder to deal with.
Yeah, it's good. I don't see it a lot, at least in pre-modern, but we will see it as we start to go through these Tempest era decks. I see it pop up at high levels of competitive play from time to time.
Okay.
And then 21 lands, islands, and then 4 quicksands. Alex, you love playing quicksands. You play quicksands against me sometimes, and every time it hits the board, I'm like, what are you talking about? Goddamn quicksand. Ah, sometimes it ruins
You
my
know that
day.
there was a dramatic peak and then likewise dramatic drop off of the appearance of quicksand as like a plot element in TV shows and movies over like several decades.
Uh, 60s. Did
Yeah,
it
yeah,
start in the 60s?
like the 60s and 70s, like there was like a big upswing in like quicksand in pop culture and like it being a plot element in shows and stuff. And then it like dramatically dropped off. And
We
now
were
no one
born
talks about it anymore.
we were born into the tail end of the quicksand era,
Yeah.
I believe. There
Yeah,
were
for sure.
still some old, like pixelated games that we were playing on Atari that had
Yeah.
quicksand that you needed to swing
Yeah.
over, but that was
It
like
was
our
in the
parents'
Princess
games.
Bride, had quicksand in it, lightning sand. Uh, but that was about the end of the quicksand, a few things in the 80s when we were, growing up and then kind of stopped.
You remember the Princess Bride? I mean, they just did a Princess Bride a Secret Lair recently.
Yeah, yeah.
Did they reprint quicksand in that?
Oh God, I don't know. I didn't hear about it. I think not, just
No.
because I didn't.
Yeah, I don't see it on MTG stocks under quicksand. So
That would have been a great idea. This is why we need to be on the creative design team, Steve.
yeah, pay me. How much will you pay me to every once in a while go like, oh, did you do? How about that quicksand?
I'll
No,
just
okay.
shuffle around the office in like a cardigan sweater and like, you know, once every 3 weeks, I'll be like, here's an idea.
I'll do it for free. Yeah, just
Yeah,
let me work from home for free. Every
maybe like
couple
take a revised starter deck out of the vault every once in a while, like, and I'll be happy with that.
every couple weeks, I'll just send an email to Rosewater and be like, hey, you guys thought about oh no? Okay, never mind. Now the sideboard.
Sideboard.
Sideboard is 1 disrupt, which is a Weatherlight counter spell for 1 blue.
I like it.
Counter target instant interrupt or sorcery spell unless its caster pays an additional 1 colorless, draw a card. So like a limited 4 spike, but a cantrip. 4 Hydroblasts, 2 Meek Stones, 2 Null Rods, 3 Phyrexian Furnaces, and 3 Sukata Firewalkers. So just kind of like a toolbox style sideboard. Furnace for graveyard decks. Sukata, I don't know if you're playing burn or something. Just want to have somebody around that can survive a bolt. Just keep pinging them while you counterspell the nasty stuff. Anywho, Forbidian, to sum it up, multiple card draw spells that help fuel the forbid buyback over and over again. Use the forbid and its buyback to soft lock your opponent with repeated counter magic. Bounce the capsize or steal with Legacies of Lore. anything that makes it past your counter magic. Well, not anything. You know what I'm getting at. Can't steal anything with Legacies of Lore, but some things that get past your counter magic you can steal or bounce back.
Mhm.
And then you just, when you're controlling the board state, pick them apart with these creatures. 2 damage here with the Man of War. 1 damage here and there with the Ophidian or Tradewood Rider if you want to choose to deal the damage with the Ophidian. And then also maybe sometimes 4 damage with your little Drake you got here. Silver Wyvern. That's Forbidian. It's a tight little counter deck, counter magic deck. I'm into it.
I like it.
We need to start playing these classic decks against each other sometimes, Alex.
Yeah.
Just get on Mox Field. Forbidian versus Prost Bloom. Forbidian versus White Weenie. Anywho.
I'm sure some of them will end up being weird matchups because of, like the available card pools because of their different eras,
Yeah.
But it'll still be fun to see how they stack up against each other.
Yeah. Anywho, that's the end of segment 1. Ophidian.
Very good.
Now it's time to move on to segment 2, Alex. I'm filling my, in celebration of segment 2, I'm filling my cheeks with nuts. Putting some nuts in here.
I understand why.
Segment 2, I'm calling We Bloomburrowed because that's what we did a couple weekends ago. We Bloomburrowed. It was our first time playing Bloomburrow. It was our first time as 2 old mages playing modern Magic. I've never played a game of Magic with modern cards before.
No.
And we dipped our toes into modern Magic playing some precons from Bloomburrow. I'm really chewing into the mic now. I made a mistake putting this many nuts in my mouth.
I bought a Bloomburrow starter kit that has 2 pre-construction decks in it. What is that? Yeah, I bought this.
What happened?
I was looking at that. What is that picture / movie of a man eating a rat?
I don't know. I've complained before about the ads that MTG Wiki has on there. They're trying to get their bag. This is an ad for something called Vampire Survivors. I don't know what it is.
I thought it was related to Bloomburrow because of the mice and stuff. I was like, why is that old guy eating a mouse? Anyways, yeah, I bought this starter set I found on sale, and I thought it'd be fun to try out some Bloomburrow and have a little starter kit to also maybe like teach some new players how to play Magic, and have something that's like low thinking for new players and
2 old guys who've never played modern Magic.
Yeah. And for us. So yeah, I picked that up, and Steve was in town last weekend, and we sleeved them up and played a couple games.
The starter kit, it's a learn to play product. This is the ad copy. A learn to play product aimed at new players, including instructional materials, a guide to players through their first game. Each deck contains 5 exclusive cards, headlined by a traditional foil mythic rare card.
When they say instructional materials, they mean one little instruction booklet. I just want to be clear, right?
And we did not read that. We are advanced enough that we did not have to read the instructional booklet.
I looked at it. It was fine. It was a nice little concise explanation of how to play Magic. There were a couple things it didn't deal with, but it was fine. Nice little booklet.
The 2 decks we played were Hare Raising, a white-green deck that featured Go Tall rabbits. They call them Go Tall. That is the same strategy that I follow in my first ever commander deck that I built called the Pump, where I pump up my creatures. I call it pumping, and they call it going tall. The second deck was Otter Limits, a blue-red deck with aggro otters. I just want to go over these precons a little bit. First time we ever played precons.
Mm-hmm.
This is Hare Raising, and it's full of creatures. This is Magic for beginners. They're very creature-focused decks. 20 creatures.
But a lot of creatures that have abilities that go along with them too, creatures that generate other creatures or pump your other creatures.
There were a few, I'm not going to go over every single creature, but there were a few that I wanted to highlight. This Beauregard Mentor, I liked this guy a lot. It was the 1 green, 1 white, rabbit soldier, star, trample. Beauregard Mentor's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control.
Yeah,
So
this was strong in a couple games when we were playing, for sure. It grows pretty fast for 2 mana.
it doesn't seem like much, but you know, in a deck where you not only have 20 creatures, but you also have spells that are pretty low casting cost that can generate multiple tokens.
Hmm.
You know, you can get this out really fast and it would be like 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, like very early in the game.
Yeah.
What were some others? Burke, Long Ear of the Law. I think this was
Yeah,
the
that's the
foil
foil.
creature.
I think we only saw him pop up like once.
Yeah, we saw him once. I think you played him once, and it wasn't really needed at all for this deck to
Yeah, I
function.
think it was like, yeah, it was already about to win or something and got him out at the end.
4 colorless, 1 green, 1 white, 4/4 with vigilance. When it enters, put +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So yeah,
This is confusing.
it was almost excessive. Like by the time you got this out for 6 mana, there was already enough other stuff on the board that was like too difficult for me to deal with, at least with the Otter
Yeah.
Limits deck. Clifftop Lookout. Won't pay much attention to that. Druid of the Spade. I'm going to ignore that. Sarah Redeemer. Tree Guard Duo. So this was another one that I thought was kind of a superstar of the deck, at least in the games that I played. Tree Guard Duo is 3 colorless, 1 green, 3/4. A creature, frog, rabbit. Well, it's a creature, a frog, and a rabbit. It's a duo. When Tree Guard Duo enters until end of turn, target creature you control gains a vigilance and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. So if you have a bunch of tokens out and you just played your Beauregard Mentor, you then next turn play Tree Guard Duo, give +X/+X to your Beauregard Mentor, and just trample over for like a ton of damage.
Yeah. And it has vigilance, so it can stay
And it has
alive and
vigilance.
block.
So it was like very easy to deal large amounts of damage very quickly with this deck. And they had lots of flyers and lots of tramplers to make sure you push that damage through.
Yeah, I kind of thought going in as the white green deck, it wouldn't have a lot in flying, but back up there at the top right, the pileated provisioner, I think, or
Okay.
whatever. Like the one game I got 2 of those out, I think. And then I was like, oh, I have a bunch of flying and a bunch of tokens and like,
That is a 3/4 flyer. When it comes into play, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control without flying. And then, so yeah, I thought the hardest creatures to deal with were the Beauregard Mentor and the Tree Guard Duo, because they're relatively low casting cost for how much damage they can push through. And then sorceries, you had a couple different sorceries, including Hop to It, which was 2 colors, 1 white, create 3 1/1 rabbit creature tokens. So I mean, we played one game where I just cast like 2 Hop to It and then a Beauregard Mentor, and it was like game over. And if you follow that up with a Tree Guard Duo, unless your opponent has removal to get rid of this stuff, it's just overwhelming.
what did the clifftop lookout do? Just because I want to remember to give something reach. Oh, it
Two
has
color,
reach.
2 colors, 1 green, 1/2 reach. When it enters, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card into the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Okay.
So it was fine, but I don't remember.
Yeah, fine, but yeah.
There was no time when like one of us cast this and the other person was like in trouble.
Well,
Yeah. But I was definitely in trouble like when a Beauregard Mentor hit the table a couple times and I needed to get rid of it right away or else I wasn't, screwed.
I
Same
think
with,
that card's really good for 2 mana.
yeah. Same with Tree Guard Duo. Now, some people might be looking at these creatures and being like, oh, who cares about this stuff? We're used to a lower power level.
Yeah.
older cards. You did get me with a giant growth one time. I didn't realize giant growth was in Bloomburrow, and I blocked, and you giant growth, and I almost flipped the table. I was like, you son of a bitch. Where did that card come from? I didn't even know it was in Bloomburrow. And I think, is this one of the cards that wasn't actually in the set itself, but was
It's
only in the
not, it's
pre?
just in this, I
Just in the
think
pre.
just in these precons.
I think so too. So I was not expecting it. Repel Calamity came in handy
That was a good one, yeah.
multiple times. One colorless, one white, instant, destroy target creature with power or toughness 4 or greater. This was some of the featured art I remember when they were first spoiling Bloomburrow.
Yeah, yeah, it's like on the some of the big ads and stuff. Carrot Cake was fun to play. I saw this advertised when the set came out, and some people were like, "Oh, this is cute." You know, I wasn't sure how it would be, but I felt happy casting it when I did.
No, it was a nice little card. I know. I mean, I carrot caked into a Hop to It, followed by a Bloomburrow Mentor.
Can't believe you remember these details of the game.
Well, I just remember that was the one. That was the one game where I just smoked you because it was like every turn I had like just the right thing in my hand to generate tokens to
Mhm.
buff a creature, and it was like just too much for the blue red precon.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what I did. I carrot caked so that we'll put one token on the board. And then I hop to it, turn 3. So
Sounds
then I
like
had
you're
four.
saying Hawk Tua.
I know, I didn't want to say that, but you did it. You did it, Alex. I wonder if she'll come on our podcast. She has a podcast now called Talk to Her.
Oh, really? That's funny. If anyone listens to this like a year and a half from now, they'll be like, "What are they talking about?"
What is Talk to Her? You don't want to know.
Anyways, Carrot Cake.
I carrot caked and then I hopped to it. So then I had 4/1/1s. And then the next turn, I double Burrow Guard Mentored.
Oh, okay.
So then I had 2 of these, and then the next turn was a Tree Guard duo, and it was just over. Like, what do you just didn't, you weren't pulling removal. There's literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's over. It's game over. It was just nice. It was fun to do. This would be a very fun deck for a beginner to play. It was fun for an old mage to play.
Yes, it was fun all around. I really enjoyed the green-white deck. Oh, Colossification was a neat card too, by the way. This is like a win the game card for 7 mana.
5 colors, 2 green enchantment, enchant creature. When Colossification enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +20/+20. I don't think either one of us ever played that, but
I thought I played it, but I didn't like. I might have tried to play it and you countered it, or you killed the creature right when I cast it, or
okay, I can't
something. I
remember.
didn't get to use it.
I know it was in your hand, and I couldn't remember if you just showed it to me, and I was like, "What
maybe
the
I just
fuck?"
showed you after the game or whatever. By the way, the dual land in this was like comfortable. Like it wasn't too slow and weak, and it wasn't too fast and strong. It was just kind of like, you know, nice to have. And I don't think I had problems getting the mana I wanted in either deck, the blue-red deck or the white-green deck. I always had like the color I needed, at least.
Yeah, that was one of my some overall thoughts about the deck. One of my overall thoughts. This isn't even a thought. This is just a statement I'm going to make. We never got mana screwed. And that made me think about how these decks were like really nicely constructed. Like neither one of us ever got mana screwed.
No.
We both
In the
played.
blue-red deck, I think we might have had too much mana sometimes.
Yes, that's when you claimed that I didn't shuffle the deck before I handed it to you. You said, "Did you shuffle this deck?" I said, "Yes, I fully shuffled it." And then you just kept pulling land, and you were like, "You didn't shuffle the deck, you son of a bitch." And I was like, "Alex, your head's not screwed on correct. You're drunk. Don't yell at me. Don't talk to me like that. We're business partners. We've been friends for 35 years or whatever." How long? About 37? 30, something like that. How dare you
Yeah.
think that I wouldn't shuffle a deck before I gave it to you?
That's when the knives came out.
But that's what I remember. You getting mana screwed that one time and you claiming that I didn't shuffle the deck before I gave it to you. But we never got mana
I think
screwed.
one
That
of your
was
initial games with the red blue too, though, you were a little mana heavy without much to do. Also,
okay.
like you had like a lot of land out. I'm only bringing this up because I'll come back to it when we discuss our overall impressions, I guess.
Okay, I guess all I was trying to get at was they were fairly well designed. Like I thought. I
Yes.
never played a
Yeah.
precon, but it's like we opened the precon. I shouldn't be surprised by this. Magic the Gathering knows what they're doing. We opened the precon and we were playing Magic.
Yep. For
It
sure.
was never not fun to play the decks. Uh, so that's Hair Raising. I really like the Tree Guard Duo. I really like the Burrow Guard Mentor. I like the Hop to It. I like the Carrot Cake. Repel Calamity was strong.
Hmm.
And the deck was doing its thing every single time. Single time we shuffled up and played.
I got the
The next
Phineas Ace Archer out once, and you killed him immediately, and I didn't get to do anything with him.
good. I can't
I
remember what
was
he did.
disappointed.
1 green, 1 white, 2/2 Vigilance Reach. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control that's a token or a rabbit. Then if creatures you control have total power 10 or greater, draw a card. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could see how that would get out of hand really
Yes.
fast with some of these other cards.
Yes. Second precon, Bloomburrow precon, Otter Limits.
Great name, by the way.
I almost said Outer Limits, but no, it's a play on that. It's Otter Limits. Go over the deck, starting with creatures. 21 creatures. And this son of a bitch. I'm trying to figure out which ones I remember. Which ones made an impression on me? I don't want to go through every single one. I don't remember us ever seeing Alania, Divergent
I don't
Storm.
think we ever saw that.
There's a lot of text there, so I'm not going to read it.
We saw Stormcatch Mentor a couple times.
Yeah, it's a nice little 1/1 with haste, prowess. Most importantly, it's a casting cost reducer. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast, so it's always nice to have something like that in a deck. I remember Alania's Pathmaker hitting the board multiple times. This deck had 3 of those. 3 colorless, 1 red, 4/2. When it enters, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. I think I got to utilize that ability one time, but that was it. Can't remember what I did. It was so-so.
Yeah.
I was never like, oh, I'm glad I just pulled this card. I'm glad I have this in my hand. Bria Riptide Rogue. This is the feature card in this deck. 2 colors, 1 blue, 1 red, 3/3 prowess. Other creatures you control have prowess.
That started to get a little bit hard to keep track of.
We did this once, right? You had this in play
Yeah.
one time, and we had to count all the +1/+1s, right?
I had to count. I wasn't expecting to have to count.
I think we got it right though. Whenever you
Yeah.
cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn.
But
I
yeah,
remember
cool
being
card.
I remember being nervous when this hit the board one time, but I think that I was still able to deal with it with the green-white deck.
Yeah, I think I couldn't follow up with anything, and or you had some answers.
I had some answers. Mockingbird.
I like
One
this when the set was revealed. I was excited about this card. I think it's cool.
1 blue X 1/1 flying. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird in addition to its other types and it has flying. I think you played that out once.
Yeah, I got it out once, and I think you had a.
I had an answer.
Yeah, maybe that scary wolf card that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Big wolf. Yeah.
Repel Calamity.
Repel Calamity. Yeah.
Quake Tusk Boar. This is a 5/5 elemental boar with reach, trample, and haste for 3 colorless, 2 red. There was one time I was very glad to have this in my hand. I was like, oh, maybe I can make a comeback. Let me play a Quake Tusk. And I think I dealt damage to you once or twice with it, but then you got rid of it. You dealt with it. Wasn't enough to get me the
I do
W.
remember killing it. I think the Coruscation Mage was pretty good, and I would have liked to have drawn it more.
This is the creature. It's 1 colorless, 1 red, 2/2 Otter Wizard. It has offspring 2 colorless, which means you may pay an additional 2 colors as a cast the spell. If you do, when this creature enters, create a 1/1 token copy of it. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. I do remember that doing some damage to you. I had that on the board for at least a few turns too, and I was able to use it to do something, but
Is it
you
two or three
overwhelmed me.
overall casting cost? I can't see it on the screen.
2. 1 colorless, 1 red.
Yeah, okay, okay. Cool. And then we saw the Waterspout Warden a ton, and I think we were both underwhelmed when we were getting it.
This is what I'll say about this deck in general. It had a lot of creatures that were just, yes, underwhelming is just the way to put it. They're totally fine creatures, but compared to the white-green deck that had like quite a few things that were extremely problematic if they hit the board, like this just didn't match up. Like you played that 2 casting cost star trampler in the green deck, the white-green deck. You put that on the board, and then whoever's playing this Otter Limits deck then plays their 2 casting cost creature in Bellowing Crier, which is just a 2/1 Frog Advisor that allows you to draw a card and then discard a card when it enters the battlefield. Or turn 3, Thieving Otter. You know, this is actually a good episode to talk about Thieving Otter because it has an Ophidian-like ability. 2 colorless, 1 blue, 2/2. Whenever Thieving Otter deals damage to opponent, draw a card.
But they have tokens, so they like always have a way to block it, and
they have tokens. In this deck, this blue-red deck doesn't do enough blue stuff. Like this deck is not designed to clear the way for Thieving Otter. So I don't know if either one of us ever got to draw a card from Thieving Otter. Like it was hitting the board multiple times and it just wasn't doing shit.
yeah, just ended up being like a blocker that died or something.
Yeah. So a card like this just isn't. It's just not good unless you build around it. It has to be in the right type of deck.
Waterspout Warden, I think, was the one we were both most underwhelmed by. We were both a little bit frustrated at that card.
Most definitely. I wanted to take them out of this deck.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can immediately make this deck better by putting counter spells in the place of Waterspout Warden. 2 colorless, 1 blue, 3/2 Frog Soldier. Whenever it attacks, if another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, Waterspout Warden gains flying until end of turn.
So it's a 3-mana 3/2 that sometimes gets flying. And
yeah.
Like, I don't know. In like third edition, that might have been kind of cool, but now it's certainly not as good as a lot of the cards in these decks.
No, it should not stack up. There were no other really great, like really interesting cards in here. Oh no, that's not true. So Mind Spring is just like a Brain Geyser. Draw X cards, 2 blue X.
Mhm.
Pearl of Wisdom. This was nice to play sometimes, but you know, it got us a card. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you control an otter. You usually controlled an otter, so it was a draw 2 cards for 2 mana, which that's fine, whatever. Flame Lash was used multiple times to deal some damage to creature removal. 3 colorless, 1 red instant, deals 4 damage to any target.
Never saw Rabid Gnaw, I don't think.
Oh, no, this is I was going to say this was the spell that I liked the most in this.
Oh, I like it, but I don't remember. I didn't draw it, I don't think, or play it.
1 colorless, 1 red instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So I used this multiple times for removal. But still, you overwhelmed me. Sword of Vengeance we never saw. And in Charmed Sleep, I was complaining. I'm like, this blue deck, I have no way of dealing with anything like above 4 toughness. How do I deal with anything above 4 toughness? And I actually said that when you showed me that enchantment, that giant cat that gives
oh, the Colossification
creatures +20/+20. Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is in this deck? This blue-red deck that they've paired against that green-white deck that can even deal with Colossification. This is the one spell that could deal with classification. 1 colorless, 2 blue, enchant
There's
creature.
probably something else that we haven't thought of, but yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's more or less the only obvious thing.
When Charm Sleep enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap phase.
Yeah. So, our impression, unless was there something else you were about to say?
That's about it. I was going to go to overall thoughts, final
Yeah.
thoughts.
I think we both had more fun playing the green-white deck and both
Absolutely.
thought that it was stronger. However, recently this week, I found a post about these decks, and I was reading through other people's impressions, and several people had the exact opposite thought that we did, Steve.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy because my final takeaway number 4 is these are not well balanced against one another, but it's because I believe the white-green deck is way too powerful for the red-blue deck. We both went 2-0, 2-0 with the white-green deck. We switched.
Yes.
We did best out of 3 twice. It was a sweep for white-green and whoever's hands.
Counterpoint, this is a very small sample size.
And we don't know how to play.
And also probably it's possible we made some mistakes in playing, but these are starter decks, so it shouldn't be, the strength of the deck shouldn't really be relying on, your expertise in playing.
I don't think we really made mistakes because they are.
I don't think so either.
I'm
leaving it out. I'm leaving it open. Some people though were saying that they had the opposite experience we did. That the blue red was able to steamroll the white green.
That is nuts.
I kind of feel that way too. I could see how it would happen. I could see how things were. You got optimal draws or the right combos of cards, the red-blue deck would win. I feel like the green-white deck was more forgiving, though. Like, whatever you drew, you had some good stuff going on right off the bat.
Always.
And the blue-red deck could get some bad opening hands or, start off with just some frogs that weren't helping you.
There's a lot of frogs that aren't helping you in this deck.
There's
too many frogs that aren't helping you. I just remember thinking so once the white-green deck started doing counter things in mid-game, red-blue just couldn't stop it. So if you got to mid-game, there were just too many counter things going on the other side of the board. Couldn't deal with it. So it seemed like the only option for the red-green or the red-blue to win is, play a fast game. Just beat down from the beginning. And this deck just was not, at least in my hands, was not fast enough to end things early. I just couldn't end the game before mid-game. So that's where I was like, I don't understand how they seemed unbalanced, totally unbalanced to me. Because red blue Otter Limits didn't really have anything to really overwhelm it in mid to late game, at least not to the degree that the
Well, no, I think some of the prowess effects can amplify. You can get a couple prowess effects going on, and the creature's getting really nasty.
So that's true. That's the one. That seems to be the one potential saving grace for the deck in mid to late game prowess. What had prowess in this deck? We didn't see it all that much. Of the 4 games we played, we only got Briar out once.
Yeah, and I think that other one, the Stormcatch Mentor would have been more of a key. I think if that had been out more, because it also reduces your instant and sorcery casting cost. And that helps you use the prowess more.
Yeah.
So, I could see that card making more of a difference if it had been out more.
Yeah. Waterspout Wardens. Take out the Waterspout Wardens.
Yeah.
One of my other thoughts after, playing these decks was that red-blue deck just didn't do enough red-blue things. There's no counter magic here, man.
Yeah,
Where's
there
the
was
counter?
nothing really countery in this deck. There was some card draw on blue.
There was
Uh,
card blah. I said
uh,
card blah. There was card blah.
card draw. There was some, the blue effects were like card draw. There was some flying. There was some cloning. There was some. Uh,
Okay, it did some blue things. It didn't do the major blue
but it
things.
didn't. You're right. It didn't. There was no countering in here.
I'm surprised they don't put that in every precon for beginners to give them a better idea of what blue is all about. Blue is about preventing your opponent from doing the things that they enjoy doing, so they have a terrible time and they don't want to play with you any longer. Perhaps, see, I don't actually feel that way about counter magic. It's just a part of the game for me. But perhaps there is a thing in the designers' heads at Wizards about counter magic not being fun for new players. There's a
Very
whole
possibly. I also think it might be more confusing as far as rules for new players. Like it might not be as intuitive how to like what the timing is and how to resolve that sort of stuff. Um, but for me, like Counterspell is a card that you're going to pull in your very first revised starter deck that you open.
yeah,
It's going to be part of your introduction to blue.
yeah, it is what blue does. There is a whole class of players that really seems to hate, and again, I just see this online. People say a lot of things online, but that really seems to hate like cards in Magic that prevent other people from doing the thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
Land destruction,
Yeah.
counter magic, stuff like that. And I don't really understand that type of player. That's always been a part of Magic for
Right.
me.
It's a pretty core part. And
Yeah. The
as you
prison
sort of
part, the
alluded
lock part.
to, huh?
I was just saying the prison aspects of certain decks, the locks, the countering, the bounce.
It's certainly not, it's not fun to lose. It's not fun to get locked down, but there are multiple ways to do it in Magic, and it's always been part of the game. And it's like, it's like pick your poison. Do you want to lose to land destruction? Do you want to lose to stasis? Do you want to lose to being countered? Do you want to,
Yeah.
so I think everyone has their own specific one that they hate the most. Some people hate land destruction more. Some people hate, stasis or whatever more. I don't know. They're pretty core parts of the game though.
So it just made me wonder. Now thinking back on this, like maybe they try to go counter Magic Light in the precons. I don't know this. It's just a thought.
Well, it seems like they avoided it for sure. Like there's not even, unless I missed it, there's not like one counter spell in here at all.
No, they definitely did here, but I'm just wondering if it's if it's something
Oh,
that
I
they
see.
like
For
to
the
do
other
in
precons
general.
and stuff.
Yeah, for the starter decks.
Mhm.
Don't know. But anyways.
But overall, it was fun. We had fun playing them. Learned a few new mechanics. Got to play with a slightly different power level than we're used to. Yeah, it was cool.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked the precon decks. It was a good experience overall.
I would especially like to play these again against some other decks,
What other decks, Alex? What's
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like
other precons?
either other precons or even if I'm like starting to play with people that play who are more involved in modern or
Yeah.
standard and be like, oh, well, I have this precon. Let me see how it like works against the deck you're playing. And I, know I'll lose probably, but might be fun.
Or even use them as a base and just level them up because there's some obvious
Right, yeah,
ways
because you can sub
to
out some
improve those,
cards and upgrade these. Yeah.
I mean, right here, you just remove this shithead, this piece of shit. Anything you put in this place will make the deck better.
Anything.
Watch just be like a star, like a chase card from
Everyone's gonna be like typing, like, oh, you idiots. No.
Anywho, Alex, do you have anything else to say? Because if not, I think we're gonna wrap it up for the day.
I thought that was an excellent confetti cannon.
Oh, thank you.
It
was
worked really well. It wasn't a dud. The one time the one was a dud, right?
I don't know.
I think you tried to set one off and it was a dud one time. But that
I
might
think
have
I was
not
just
even been
No, I
on
think
there.
I eventually got it. I was nervous when I
Yeah.
was, so it took me a while
all
to
tensed
get it.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, confetti cannon was good. I could see all of the confetti flying on the screen. It went well.
Do
Is
you have
there a
any?
company, the confetti cannon company, you want to shout out
Oh,
to?
yes, show. Yes, show.
Okay.
Yes, show. I bought them
Oh,
on Amazon.
all right.
Can't remember what I bought the first ones for, and now I just have like 10 of them because you couldn't buy it in a pack of less than 10. So I
Hmm.
just got to keep using them every once in a while. Alex, on this day, on the 23rd anniversary of 9/11, do you have anything you would like to say to the nation before we wrap up episode 100 of the Old Mage MTG podcast? Did you did you hear Joe Biden yesterday say he was going to do 9/11 today?
No, what does that mean?
Somebody was talking to him on the White House lawn yesterday. I think they were asking like what he was going to do. It was on the day of the debate. And he's like, I'm going, somewhere with family. We're going to watch the debate. And then tomorrow I'm going to do 9/11.
Did that mean like go to the memorial event?
That's definitely what I meant.
Okay.
But it's
Yeah,
not
I
what
feel
it
like that's
sounds
not
like
the way you should refer
when
to
it's
it.
like, what
No.
are you going to do tomorrow? And you're like, I'm going to do 9/11,
Yeah, that sounds like you're talking about
doing 9/11.
420 or Labor Day, something.
I'm going to do 9/11. Alex, where were you on that? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Well, how did you learn about it?
I was in college and I woke up. I think I had no morning classes that day, so I like woke up kind of late.
I had an
And I like,
afternoon chemistry class.
huh?
I had an afternoon chemistry class. That was my
Hmm.
first class.
So I went like out into the like common room of my like apartment and turned on the TV and saw what was happening. And that was kind of like, that was how I was introduced to the information of the day. And then they canceled classes for the day and uh, just like hung out with my friends that day and kind of like were like, what's going on?
I woke up to Howard Stern. It was my alarm. I was waking up to the Howard Stern morning show. And I just remember them sounding panicked and talking about an explosion. I thought it was like a bit. I thought they were doing some kind of bit.
Yeah.
And then as I started to wake up, I started to feel like they were really nervous, like really nervous. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So then I woke up, I turned on the television, and then that's when I saw the second plane flying into the tower. And I was like, fucking hell. And I remember my mom calling me, and she was like, you need to get to a lower level because I was on the 13th floor of a building. And I was like, Mom, nobody's going to fly a plane into a 13-story building in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to be okay. Sometimes I think about how different America would be if Mark Wahlberg was on one of those planes. Did you ever, did you, did you ever hear Wahlberg?
Uh,
Did you ever hear him talking about 9/11?
Pull the plug. Pull
Did
the
you ever
plug.
hear that? Did you ever hear that interview where he's like, if I was on
Yes,
those
yeah, I
planes
think
with my,
so. Yes.
maybe it's true. Maybe he does have a history of brutalizing immigrants. I don't know if you're aware of that. He has
I think he has been in some violent confrontations
he
with
has
people.
brutally beaten immigrants before. So who knows what would have happened if Mark Wahlberg was on one of those planes with his family on 9/11. Things might be very different. But probably not. Mark Wahlberg probably would have been killed on that plane. Anyway, no. That's the end of episode 100 of the Mage MTG podcast. I forgot to ask people at the beginning of the show. Follow us on YouTube if you enjoy the show. You can also follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any app that you listen to podcasts on. We're there, I think, pretty much. Where else can you follow us? I
Ronnie's
forgot to
apps.
Ronnie's apps. Alex's buddy Ronnie started a podcast app. Name is Ronnie's Apps. Nobody other than Alex uses it. We're trying to get more people to use it. So go into the Google Play Store, Apple Play Store, if that's a thing, if that's what it's called. Search for Ronnie's Apps.
I hope it's
download it.
no, don't do that because I don't know what you'll find.
You're going to find Alex's buddy's Ronnie's podcast player. Download Ronnie's apps, search for the Old Mage MTG podcast. We should be on it. I forgot to mention, I even had a note to myself somewhere in the show notes when I pulled up this first deck, asked people to follow us on Moxfield. I forgot to do that. But you can follow us on Moxfield. So this is the Old Man Magic Moxfield.
I saw someone post today that they were trying to make an old school Seaton Croson Protector Commander deck today.
Okay.
And I was like, haven't you seen our podcast?
What? If you had a Twitter, where'd you see him post that?
It was on Reddit on I think just the MTG.
You should have responded to it, Alex. You should have said,
I don't post on Reddit. No.
I know somebody who's building one, and then, refer them to the pod.
I know. I wanted to send the Moxfield link. Be like, go here, look. I've already done much of the shoddy work for you. You'll have to fix some of it.
You can follow us on Moxfield at Old Men Magic. We have 2 followers so far. Shout out to Average Melon, who is definitely an above average melon in my eyes. And Alon Bueno. Shout out to you two, the 2 followers on Moxfield. Thank you so much for joining our Moxfield. Why would you follow us on Moxfield? Well, because every damn deck we talk about on this show, which is a lot of damn decks so far, and it's going to be a lot more into the future because we're going to keep going. Every damn deck we talk about in the show, I post to our Moxfield. I'm trying to find, look, decks. Look at all these decks. Decks discussed on the podcast. We have a whole folder. I need to organize these better. I'm thinking about maybe organizing them by year. Rogue Dead Gael, a homebrew by Chris. I almost said Piss Crispula, but that's not his name. His name is Chris Picula. 4-color control, Sean Fleischman, not Schlon Fleischman. Sean Fleischman.
Pull up the blog.
PT Columbus, 1996. Aggression, Paul Furker, not Paul Fucker. PT
It's just
Paris,
getting worse from
1997.
here.
I had something else to say about Alan Comer too, but I won't because I'm making fun of myself. Not being
Yes,
able to
we're not making fun of anyone's names.
It's because I'm a mushmouth moron. But all these classic decks, we're talking about them from 94 on up.
It's a repository of decks.
If we mention them on the podcast, I put them here in our Moxfield. Also some modern day pre-modern era decks that we've talked about. F. Palou's MTG, always brewing all sorts of powerful pre-modern decks. Sometimes I see one of those decks, I get excited. I'm like, Alex, I want to talk to you about this deck. And we're like, why don't we talk about it on the show? We talk about it on the show. I post it on my Moxfield. Anyways, all this stuff is here. Also, we build commander decks. We've each built 2 commander decks so far. We have our commander decks right here. We need to go back and revise our commander decks from this year.
So far, I never really finished mine.
So far, we've been doing 1 a year. I have some changes that I know I want to make to mine. We need to get back to that before year's end. Anyways, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Ronnie's apps, Moxfield. Where else? Oh, I forgot to mention, if you see any cards were mentioned on the show that you're like, I want to have that in my collection. And if you want to purchase those cards from TCG Player, please click our affiliate link and then purchase the card. We have an affiliate link. It'll be in the description to the episode below. You click the link, you buy the cards, they show up at your house. I think we get a percentage. I'm not sure how it works anymore. Nobody's clicked the link for probably like 5 months now. If you click the link and you buy cards, shoot me a DM somewhere on Old Mage MTG on Twitter, Threads, or Instagram so I can figure out if we're getting a percentage. We used to get a percentage, and then TCG Player sent out a message saying the beginning of 1 month, I think maybe June, they were going to switch from last click acquisition to first click. Not acquisition. Maybe that's what they call it.
Impression.
Last click something to first click something. It was like they decide whether and like who gets the money based on either first click or last click before buying. Don't know how it all works. But it used to be set up
jerking us around.
Used to be set up one way. They switched it another way. And starting on the day that it switched, We have now no longer received any percentages. So that's possible. It's because nobody's clicking the link because we're a very small show and very few people, come across us. But it's also possible that people are clicking the link, and because of the change they made, it's just not coming to us because something needs to be done differently. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I'm not sure. But if you click the link and you buy cards and you think maybe we should have gotten a percentage, send me a DM. I'll let you know if it's working or not. Anyways, Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say to the viewers, the listeners before we head out?
I
think we
like
did
that
this
confetti
already.
cannon.
Okay. I asked you the same question. You answered that already. And then I rambled for 10 minutes and I forgot that we did this already. So I think it's just time to end the show. Talk to you later.
Happy 100. Thank you for tuning in.
It's applause for us. You did this, Alex. 100 eps. Okay.
I ain't gonna do this anymore. That's all from me. Goodbye.